Shalom everybody and greetings VFI news supporters and anybody else watching this video. In fact, you should invite your friends and family to watch and members of your church, synagogue, or congregation wherever they meet. The news is going to be a bit short this week because I'm on the road here in the United States and our regular crew isn't with us, but we've got a guy out there that is with us and we're thankful that he's here. So I just want to pop in and give you an update on some of the headlines that are out of Israel this week. Now, the big news story is kind of like the big news story from last week, and this is the promised strike against Israel by Iran that's been threatening. Well, the latest threat assessment is that the strike will come anytime this week, before or after the elections, and include projectiles launched at Israel from the territory of Iraq and possibly Yemen. No surprises there. Israel has promised a much larger response to this attack if and when it comes, and who knows where that might lead. On the other hand, Iran is threatening Israel with new weapons, more threatening, more devastating weapons. Must be a bigger rocket, I'm not sure. Well, the U.S. is not taking any chances deploying additional air and naval assets to the Middle East, even as other global hotspots are increasingly demanding attention from Washington. All of that and much more is just ahead on this week's edition of VFI News. Stay tuned. I'm going to start this week's news update by telling you very frankly that Israel needs your help. There has been some good news from the various war fronts recently, but most of the news about the economy is bad and increasingly getting worse. I won't say too much about it because this is going to be a short video this week and we have a lot to cover. But the bottom line is simply that I'm asking you on behalf of Vision for Israel and the entire nation of Israel to be in urgent prayer for our leaders, from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu all the way down to the heads of individual households and families, and including everyone in between. Pray for mayors of big cities and small towns in Israel. Pray for the generals and the admirals in the IDF. Pray for the principals of schools and the deans of colleges and universities. And of course, I ask you to pray for Barry and Batya Segal and our family as well, and good health for all of you and all of us. Last but not certainly least, pray for the pastors and elders of the congregations and ministries which make up part of Israel's believing communities, the household of faith. This last year has been a time when our community has really stepped up to the challenges that this war has brought to Israeli society, and people are noticing. The name of Yeshua is being glorified. Many Israelis, both Jewish and Arab, are asking questions about the good news of the kingdom, and a great harvest is coming in. But there is also pushback, and persecution has increased in some places, or harassment. In any case, there is not a single pastor or ministry leader anywhere in Israel who doesn't have a lot of very difficult decisions to make during this season right now. So please be in prayer for all of them and all of us. If you can do more than pray, please visit our website, visionforisrael.com, and click on the Projects tab. There you'll see all the kinds of ways we're trying to be a blessing to the land and the people of Israel, and once again, both amongst the Jewish and Arab Israelis, as well as all other kinds of people who are here, students, tourists, visitors, others, whatever. There's a lot of needs, and we're trying to meet those needs. So if you can help, we are very appreciative. And I love that saying, where God guides, He provides. So He may just be calling upon you to provide. Now, to dive headfirst into the headlines. Iran Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei gave another bellicose speech last Saturday in which he said, quote, enemies including America and the Zionist regime should know that they will undoubtedly receive a crushing response for what they do against Iran and the resistance front. Now, by resistance front, he means Hezbollah and Hamas, both of which Israel has been pounding pretty hard in recent weeks. Hamas is all but destroyed in the Gaza Strip, at least their commanding brigades, while Hezbollah has in an astonishingly short period of time been almost entirely demolished. But the war's not over, so let's not be naive and arrogant about it. Now, you might recall that in early September, the pager and walkie-talkie attack signaled the IDF's pivot from major military operations against Hamas in the Gaza Strip and towards Hezbollah in Lebanon. What followed was a series of lightning-fast air and artillery strikes on key Hezbollah targets and key personnel, including the leadership. Those strikes took out every single man in the top tier of Hezbollah's leadership, including longtime Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah and most of the people who might have replaced him. In fact, I don't know anybody who wants the job anyways, or wants to even volunteer that they're taking the job. Also, has been previously reported, several of the most experienced Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps officers who had been embedded with Hezbollah units in advisory roles have also been eliminated, nada, in this campaign. Many of them were not even the targets of the Israeli raids that resulted in their deaths. They were just at the wrong place and at the wrong time. Many of them shouldn't have been where they were because that was a no-no. They just had the bad luck to be standing next to a Hezbollah operative who Israel was targeting at the moment when the missiles hit. Nevertheless, Israel shed no tears when news emerged of the deaths of these evil, wicked men whose job it was to assist Hezbollah to wage war against us. Now there's something very important that you must all understand. Hamas and Hezbollah were merely proxy forces that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps built up to be a threat to Israel close to its borders so that Israel would be too busy fighting them to attack Iran directly. This is because Iran itself has very little conventional military power of its own. Most of the money that it has spent on defense in the past several years has gone to the IRGC and specifically the ballistic missile and nuclear programs. Comparatively, little money has been spent on the regular Iranian Army, Navy, and Air Force. Well, if you guys out there in Iran want a good meal, we'll feed you better than you're getting in your own countries. Come to Israel. Surrender first. The IRGC's primary task is not to defend Iran, it's to defend the regime that rules Iran. And the primary enemy that regime has is the Iranian people themselves. So the IRGC directs a lot of time and energy to spying on the Iranian people, arresting, imprisoning, torturing, and executing domestic enemies, in the thousands, by the way. This includes members of Iran's rapidly growing underground evangelical church, and just as I asked you to pray for the body of Messiah here in Israel, I'll ask you to join me in praying for the brethren in Iran as well. For that matter, there's growing underground churches in Turkey, in Pakistan, and most of the Arab Islamic countries as well. It's very exciting if you ask me. But the reason for this growing revival is because there is ever-increasing persecution, and that brings us back to Iran. Khamenei is rumored to be very sick, of cancer, so I've heard, and might be wanting to go out in a blaze of glory. He has devoted his entire life to fighting against the biblical narrative in general and Israel in particular, while trying to push the Shiite Muslim alternative, which he calls the Islamic Revolution. Even if the reports of his being sick are exaggerated, and I hope not, the undeniable fact is that he's 85 years old and he knows he doesn't have much time left. If he wants to see the removal of Israel and the United States from the Middle East region, much less the map of the world, he needs to do something fast. As far as I'm concerned, he can leave us all very fast. That would be helpful. Well, that is why this is really such a dangerous moment for Israel, and it's why I'm asking you once again for your prayers and your financial support. We need you now more than ever. So please visit the visionforisrael.com website. Also, look at us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, as well as X. And look at our projects that we videotape often and put up at YouTube on Vision for Israel. Now, while you're praying for Israel, don't forget to pray for Israel's friends and allies, especially the United States. The Pentagon announced last Friday that it is sending venerable B-52 bombers to the region, which I think have already arrived in the area. This airplane is technically old enough to start collecting Social Security benefits, but there's no sign that it's getting ready to retire. And speaking on a personal note, it's nice to have something even older than myself in this battle. But jokes aside, the B-52s will be accompanied by much younger fighter jets, refueling aircraft, ballistic missile defense platforms, and naval destroyers, presumably equipped with the Aegis missile defense system to the region. Now, the U.S. Navy is getting a lot of practice at intercepting incoming missiles and drones here in the Middle East over the past year. And that practice will surely come in handy if and whenever they have to defend Taiwan and or South Korea. And on that topic, I'll just say briefly that there's growing reasons to be concerned about that possibility of a larger war in the Far East. North Korea just test-launched an intercontinental ballistic missile possibly capable of delivering a nuclear payload to the west coast of the United States. China is conducting some very aggressive war games in the air and water around Taiwan and butting heads with Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, India, and of course Japan, its ancient enemy. This is all going while the war in Ukraine grinds on. There are reports that North Korea sent around 12,000 of its soldiers to Russia to join in the battle in Ukraine, which is symbolically very significant, even if it's in real terms that these 12,000 soldiers probably won't be able to make much of an impact. But the point is, wars and rumors of wars are expanding and multiplying at an alarming rate all over the world, bringing chaos and barbarism in their wake, while the forces of order and civilization are being stretched very thin. By the way, I wonder what language they speak when the North Koreans are fighting with the Russians. That could be really interesting. Well, now we're almost out of time, and for this news video, I realize this one has included almost as much commentary and analysis as straight news, but I'll continue the tradition of ending with some good news, which is mostly good in comparison to the rest. Israeli naval commandos were inserted on the beach in the coastal city of Batroun in northern Lebanon overnight Friday, and early on Saturday morning they extracted Imad Fadel Amhaz, a senior member of Hezbollah. This is one of the few surviving members of Hezbollah's senior leadership, and the information he is sure to provide to his interrogators might just be what sets up conditions for a ceasefire on terms favorable to Israel. Hezbollah suffered several other setbacks over the weekend while also firing more rockets and UAVs into Israel, some of which penetrated Israel's air defense system and caused damage and casualties and wounded others. This war is not over yet by any measure, people, but its end might be in sight. And although Israel has already suffered great loss in blood and treasure, it is evident that those who wish to wipe us out have suffered much more damage, and their plans have been knocked back a great ways and may be out forever. There is hope that these plans might yet be knocked back forever and ever and ever, and possibly even finished off. And on that note, I'm Barry Segal, and this has been another wonderful edition of VFI News from Israel via the United States. I love you all. Don't forget, thumbs up and subscribe. God bless you and shalom.